Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to GrizzlyBear Sim's YouTube channel, and welcome back to Lone Star. This is episode number 12, and the second episode in which you are seeing the Big Bud tractor and a couple of its implements, and also most likely the last episode that you will see the Big Bud tractor. The Big Bud tractor and its implements that we've had here on show on loan from Mitchell and Borland will be going back later this afternoon to the store where they will be cleaning things up and getting stuff ready to sell. It's been a very productive ordeal for them, and we were happy to be able to showcase this very fine tractor and the two implements that we've had here on the farm. And of course, we set up the open house here so that other local farmers could come in and see everything and tour it and take a look at it up close and actually watch it in action. And so we're going to use this Great Plains row crop seeder here to seed some corn. And basically this is the last crop that we have to seed. We've got Jack out seeding soybeans in field number 3, I believe it is, or maybe 2. Field number 2 is where Jack is. Red's doing some things with the animals this afternoon, or actually this late morning. We need to kick our time up to +5 there, as we have been doing. So thank you all so much for coming back for another episode. Hope you all are having a wonderful, wonderful day. You're watching this episode on Tuesday, the 23rd already? Wow. May is completely clicking by, and I'm sure that I'm sure you don't mind May to get by pretty quick, because if everything that we have been hearing, something good may be coming our way in the month of June, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and just listen to the Big Bud purr here as it's driving up our dirt road here. I will stop and be quiet, and you can hear this beautiful tractor. Here we go. Really awesome tractor. I've got to say that I'm actually impressed with it, and I have, as I have said before, I came out and I was somewhat critical about maybe Giants releasing the Big Bud as a DLC. I talked about that somewhat at great lengths about how that I thought, well, the Big Bud is not going to be that useful on our maps, and there's already a mod available in the Big Bud, and has been at least since Farm Sim 15, maybe even before that. I'm not sure. Let's kind of take a look at the animations of a Great Plains here as we open this bad boy up here. We will set our parking brake just to be a little bit more realistic. Of course, our working width on this particular row crop seeder is not as much as we have with our John Deere. I think that is the model DB90 that we have from John Deere. But again, this is all about sort of the show and utilizing this piece of equipment while we have some spectators nearby watching. Of course, they look a little bit invisible right now, but trust me, they're out there watching. So we will go ahead and get in position here. Now, you might have remembered that we took this field and we sort of made this field a little bit something for sort of multiple use here. This was an odd-shaped field that Courseplay had issues with it in trying to operate the map, or try to operate this field in an east-west fashion. Which is the direction that we're facing. We're actually facing east as we bring up our GPS here and get this all set up. So we'll select auto. We don't need an offset, and we will slide our course over just a little bit. So, I like to seed and fertilize and harvest and all of that good stuff in the with the long shape of the field instead of the narrow part of the field. So in other words, with this field orientated east and west at its longest point, I wanted to be able to run everything, whether it be a tractor pulling a seeder, fertilizer, plow, cultivator, or harvest. I wanted to harvest east to west and not north to south, because the more turns you have, the slower the process it's going to take. So with Course Play wanted to essentially send the tractors and everything across that area there that had trees. And I originally looked at that, and my original idea when I first saw the Lone Star map was, okay, not a problem. We will send Billy Bob and Stan and maybe Jack in there to, or Red, I'm sorry, Stan is not with us, Jack and Red in there to basically cut those trees down, and we would plow that out and create a field. Well, lo and behold, as we sort of got into town and set everything up, we realized that there's actually houses back there, and we didn't want to uproot the fine people that actually live in those houses. So basically, we decided that we would just sort of leave it as is. So what we did instead was we basically created this field using Courseplay, and we defined 3 different fields out of it. So we've got potatoes, I believe, planted on this end of the field, not really taking advantage of all of the space, but quite a bit of it there. And then we've got sugar beets planted in on the east side of the field. So we're off. We're planting corn here in this field. Now this corn crop here will be for farm use or for selling the grain in town. And let me just kick on my cruise control there as we sort of sit back and relax just a little bit. And again, not the widest of row crop seeders, but this would certainly be fine on smaller maps. This particular row crop seeder, and of course you could actually operate this row crop seeder with a tractor much smaller than the Big Bud. But we're going to use the Big Bud because we want to use it one more time before we have to turn it into the store. And so it's such a joy to operate, and it really does look nice, regardless of what it happens to be pulling. Well, again, hope you all are having a wonderful day, wonderful evening, and I hope your week has been good to you. Certainly has been a busy last couple of weeks for me, both on the job as well as stuff going on around the house, and just good times and everything. Certainly not going to complain, but I will tell you I am so looking forward to Memorial Day weekend. And for those of you, if you are here in the US of A, then you know what Memorial Day weekend is all about, and it's basically the unofficial kick of summer. The summer season doesn't actually start till later in June as far as the calendar is concerned, but growing up here in this part of Texas, again about 50 to 60 miles or so as the crow flies from here, Memorial Day weekend sort of always meant for me being out of school finally after a long school year. Back then when I went to school, back in the 70s and early to mid 80s, I graduated in 1985. The school year went from late August through basically late May. We would generally start school around the 20-something or another of August, and we would conclude our classes usually the week leading up to Memorial Day weekend. Let me just concentrate on this here and lift up our seeder. And we will pull around here and get lined back up again, just like so. And off we go again. So yeah, we would typically wrap up with classes and everything the last week of May, and then essentially be out of school for Memorial Day weekend. And of course that kicked off our summer break, our summer holidays. And typically we would always go on vacation sometime in either in late June before the 4th of July holiday or sometime maybe after the 4th of July holiday. I think my parents realized that, going on vacation right around July the 4th was not always the best thing to do. Everything was always crowded, and whether we went to an amusement park or went to some kind of other type of trip or whatever. Now, as I got older, my uncle and I would go on summer vacations together, and I was very fortunate because at the time he was a bachelor and wasn't married, hadn't been married, didn't have any kids, and so he and I would go and explore. And oftentimes he worked for the government. He was a civil service employee. Basically, he did radio electronics repair for the military, and so he would often have 2 to 3 weeks that he could take off at a given time, and so we would often take about 2 weeks of that, 2.5 weeks, and we would go and see things and go places. Most of the time it was always out west. My uncle was the person, I guess, that was responsible for introducing me to the state of Colorado. I came to Colorado for the first time when I was about 15 years old, 14 years old, something like that. And I really didn't know much about what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be when I was about 14 or 15 years old. I was still sort of bouncing around a couple of different professions that I had in my mind, and really hadn't pinpointed any one given career choice, and certainly working in IT never did pop into my head. But he brought me to Colorado. I saw the Rocky Mountains for the very first time, and at about the age of 14 or 15, again, not really knowing what I wanted to be when I grew up, I knew that if I could make it happen, I wanted to be that in Colorado. So in other words, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I wanted to do whatever that was in Colorado if the opportunity allowed itself to happen. And of course, it took many, many years before I had the opportunity to move to Colorado and obviously secure a job and everything before I moved out here. And I've been out here for coming up on 19 years this October. So good stuff there. And we'll go ahead and make our turn. Try not to run over our crops. Oh my gosh, Jerry. Bad, Jerry. I'm usually the one getting on to Red and to Jack about that kind of stuff. And there I go into it. But hey, I will own up to my mistakes, and we'll get that sorted out. But anyway, yeah, so we went summer trips. My uncle, on another summer trip, we went to California. We went to the Grand Canyon a couple of times. We took a driving trip, always a driving trip. We never flew or never traveled that way. Typically, it was always camping trips as well. So my uncle had probably a early 1980 something model Mazda little pickup, and had a camper shell on it. So, when we would head out west, once we got out of the state of Texas, where things would kind of cool off a little bit, get into the mountains of New Mexico or Colorado or out into Nevada or California areas, we would always camp, either camp in a tent or camp in his little camper shell in the back of his truck. And we would typically stay in national forests, national parks, things like that. We would stay, usually if we went to the Grand Canyon, we would stay 2 or 3 nights there at the Grand Canyon. And went to Yellowstone, went to Yosemite, went to just pretty much all of the national parks out in the western portion of the country. And again, for someone that was about 13, 14, 15, we went out on my senior year. Actually, my junior year was the last. No, I take that back. I moved out to the portion of Texas that he lived in the summer of '85 after I graduated from high school. And We actually went on our last vacation together, and I believe that was back out to Grand Canyon and places like that. So very, very cool, and I have very fond memories of all of those trips and being able to see all of that kind of stuff. So there's some stories for you that aren't necessarily related to farming or agriculture or things like that. But hey, so I'm sure, unless you are living under a rock, and hopefully if you are living under a rock, hopefully you've got internet access under that rock and got your gaming computer and everything there where you can do a little farm sim under the rock. But I guess unless you've maybe had your head in a hole or something like that, you have seen the most recent 2 videos that Cattle and Crops have released. They released those videos. The first one was the week leading up to like the Friday the 12th or so of that week, and then there was another video that came out over the weekend of that weekend, like the 13th or 14th. And the first video, let me talk a little bit about the first video. The first video, I sort of had somewhat mixed emotions about that video, and I'll tell you why. The first emotion that I sort of had over that video was the fact that, well, gosh, it had been so long since we had really heard from Cattle and Crops, and finally they released some information to us, and albeit it was pretty cool stuff, the functionality that they showed was nice, and it was awesome in its own right. I was a little disappointed with the mini map that was showing down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. I sort of felt like, well, maybe that's still a bit of a work in progress. You know, we don't know. I mean, we don't know how much of what we're gonna basically, what we have been seeing in these preview type videos will be in early access, and of course we don't necessarily know how early access is going to evolve into the finished product that will be released, you know, in the winter time frame, probably late 2017 or maybe even 2018 time frame. We just don't know. But I sort of felt like the mini map was a little bit of a letdown. I sort of, and maybe part of it is I'm just used to what I've seen with Giants, with Farm Sim 15 and Farm Sim 17. So it may just be one of those things that once you sort of get used to it, everything will be fine. And trust me when I say that there are so many other important elements that that Cattle and Crops, I believe, will impress us with, and the mini map is just a very small portion of the entire experience. So if the mini map, if that's all that the mini map will ever be from what we're seeing in the previews, that's fine, pending some of this other stuff actually comes to fruition. Okay, so but it seems like, you know, I watched the videos. Now the female character that was characterized in the video, I'm pretty sure, and other people have said this as well, it sounds like it's a Google Translate type text to speech kind of setup. Hopefully that will be, you know, hopefully that is just a stopgap solution for now, and hopefully they will be able to come out with something that is either, you know, actually scripted, meaning that they've paid talent, and I'm not just talking about somebody off the street, that they've actually paid talent to come in and professionally record that. Coming from the IT side of the business, I spent many years working in the telephony side of things, working with IVRs, that's interactive voice recognition systems, and, you know, we would always go out and pay for professional voice talent, wrong button, Jerry, professional voice talent to come in, or we would, you know, send the scripts and everything off so that they would record the, you know, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press, you know, 16 for something else, all those long-winded menu systems that we all sort of hate. But And of course, that's the right way to do it. You know, you don't bring in the, unless you've got somebody that can speak very, very, very good, very, you know, no detectable, discernible type of accents, because you know that will sort of that'll sort of get you in trouble with that. So anyway, I know a little bit about that, and there we go again, getting very close to that crop. I've got to be a little bit more careful, Jerry. So that was one thing. So hopefully, maybe they will do a better job with that, and that's fine if it's not, you know, even if it's not ready for early access, if it's going to be either placed into early access over a period of time, I'm sure that those of us that are participating in early access are going to see updates to that early access version that we're getting. Maybe it will be in the form of fixes and things like that, but also I would hope enhancements as time goes by and as we get closer and closer to the final release. Let me get a drink of iced tea here. So as long as maybe that's going to be better, that will be fine. But then again, you know, maybe that's just the tutorial kind of stuff. Maybe once you sort of work through that process, you know, the whole character speaking and all that kind of stuff doesn't really fall into play anymore, and then really who cares at that point, maybe. But then again, if you and hopefully you watch the entire video, because you really do need to watch every second of that video, because you guys probably know, if you've listened to my videos from the beginning back in the FS15 days with Paradise Hills, you know that I love cats. You know, I'm a guy, I'm a man's man kind of guy. But I love cats, and my wife and I had, well, she came here to the U.S. with 2 cats, and they had lived in Belgium and in England, and these cats had more air miles than some people do, and of course I grew to love them just as my own, and so they have both passed away, and then we had two other cats, Sky and Mickey, who also passed away at a very young age. I've talked about that before. They both passed away with a disease called dysautonomia, and very, very cruel. Mickey was 4 years old, and he was my buddy. I mean, he was my cat. You know, the other 2 cats, obviously, that my wife had when she moved here, they had lived with her for, you know, 10 or 11 years or so without me being in the picture, and so obviously they were more affectionate towards my wife than they were to me. But Mickey was my little buddy, and he would go with me all over the house, you know, follow me around, and I taught him to play fetch and did all sorts of other things, and he was just he was my little guy. And I tell you what, it's been coming up on 4 years since they have been gone, and I miss him, miss all of them, but I certainly miss them each and every day. I think about them. Well, anyway, so being a cat person, the very first video that I saw from Cattle and Crops was, you know, I don't know how long ago it was. It was kind of the first video that they released that everybody saw. Well, it had a cat in it. And so I think I even blogged about this on my blog, GrizzlyBearSims.com. And I said, well, hey, if it's got a cat in it, this is going to be a hit for me, because, you know, I think every farm needs to have a cat or two, because of, you know, helping to control the mouse and other kind of, you know, little critters like that. So anyway, in this video that came out, like I said, the first video that we saw just a few days ago. Now you guys are watching this video. I've got some lead time that I'm working here, but in this video where they're talking about the suspensions and the cultivating and stuff like that, at the very end, and again, you've got to watch every second of this video, but at the very end, the woman, the character, the female character, comes back to us and is talking about this cat that is stuck in the wheelbarrow, and that they hope, it's been stuck in this wheelbarrow for some time, and they hope to have it out of the wheelbarrow released in June. Now, I think, and a lot of other people think as well, the same thing, that that is basically they're referring to the early access part of cattle and crops. So don't know for sure, because they didn't come out and specifically say early access will be June, but they alluded to this, and I think that means something, and I think that we will see cattle and crops in June. Now, will it be early June? Will it be mid-June? Will it be the very last day of June? Will it be the minute before the stroke of midnight, before July the 1st? I don't know. I don't know the answers to that. So we will just have to find out together, I suppose. Now, a couple of days after that first that I'm sort of calling a first video, because it has been a while since we've seen or heard anything from Cattle and Crops, they released a second video. And the second video is impressive as all get out for me. You know, we have an FS17 by way of a mod. We have the manual attachment mod. Now, the manual attachment mod in Farm Sim 17, much like it was in Farm Sim 15, is just basically a script that, instead of essentially being able to back up to an implement, and while you're inside the tractor, you see down in the lower right hand HUD, you see the little icon of the hitch, and you hit the Q key to connect it, and it connects the hitch, and it connects the PTO shaft and all that stuff. The manual attach mod, you actually physically get out of your tractor and you walk around behind, and when you get around behind the tractor, it basically recognizes that you're there in that area, and it gives you the option to hit the Q key to basically connect the attachment. And then if it requires a PTO, so like for example, this seeder does not have a PTO attachment to it, so there's no PTO to attach. But if it did, we would hit the letter Z to basically attach the PTO. So with what Cattle and Crops have done, if you've noticed, and I tell you what, let me do this. Let me set the parking brake. Let me turn this guy off. Let me go over to one of my tractors here, just so I can show you, just in case you do not see. Now, this has, obviously I'm running the mod, but of course it's not active. But do you see these little buttons above, or sort of between the tail lights there? Those buttons on a real life tractor basically will control when the driver comes out of the tractor, and if he presses on one of those buttons, he can either move the 3-point hitch up, or he can do multiple things. Okay, I don't know what they all do. The tractors that I have actually physically operated in real life didn't have this fancy stuff. It was brute force and maybe a sledgehammer, or lick of a sledgehammer or 2 or 3 to basically get that to work. So anyway, back to those buttons. So what Cattle and Crops have done is they basically, this video starts up, and the, sort of the title of this video and the wording and everything that it goes along with it basically recognizes the fact that people have asked, the user base that they're building Cattle and Crops for has essentially asked for this, and they are delivering. So very cool, out of the box. You, based on the video example, you basically get out of the tractor. You, after you've parked the tractor in the vicinity of the hitch, you get out of the tractor. You obviously set your parking brake. You put the tractor in neutral. You walk to the back of the tractor, and you can use those buttons. You can mouse over those buttons and click them, and they will lower the 3-point hitch, or do whatever that all those buttons control. That's very cool. Now, you know, I went and I read some of the comments in the video, and some people are asking questions like, well, you know, can you turn that feature on or can you turn that feature off? Don't know. I didn't. There was mixed English and German, or what I think maybe German language mixed in, and I didn't really read through all of the threads. There's some hater stuff in there as well. You know, haters are going to hate, and there's a lot of people that seem to be really hurt over the fact that Cattle and Crops is a few months late. Obviously, they don't think about things the same way that I do, as far as I would rather have a nice, solid, working early access product versus have something that came out on time that would be so problematic that I would just get disgusted with it and not even want to play it. So, but like I said, haters are going to hate, and there's really nothing that we can do about that. But I hope that they will, you know, obviously we are inside of 2 weeks. As I'm recording this, it is May the 15th. It is Monday, May the 15th. And I thought, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, that I thought I had read somewhere or another that there would be like this 2-week warning. Well, now if early June is going to be the target date, then we're within that 2-week window. Obviously, if it's going to be mid-June, then we're about a month out, again, at the time that I'm recording this. And of course, if it's going to be late June, then we're, you know, about 6 weeks out. So we don't know when it's going to come out. I believe it's going to come out. I have every faith that this is a real live product, as I've talked about before, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I appreciate the fact that they told us all this at the very, you know, sort of at the beginning when we started to learn about Cattle and Crops. They said we are a group of farming simulator enthusiasts, fans, hobbyists, or whatever, that also have programming experience and everything. And we have been sitting back and we have been watching and listening and understanding what the community wants from an agricultural based simulation game, and they plan to deliver that. So, you know, you're not going to need a mod to be able to do manual attachments. So how cool is that? How cool is it that a developer is putting functionality into a game and not necessarily relying on the modding community to, you know, come up with something like that. So, you know, as I've sort of speculated, or as I sort of maybe have, talked about here on my soapbox over the last several weeks and maybe months, that, you know, if Cattle and Crops is everything that we hope it to be, that Giants is going to have to really step up their game. And I'm more than certain that Giants represents at least one, if not multiple, of the early access crowdfunding supporters and everything. They would be crazy not to have access to the early access piece, so they can see what it's going to do. They can sort of be along the way as that is further developed. And, you know, they're going to have to really do something quite exceptional, I think, because otherwise they're going to fall into the arcade style of video game and sort of fall out of the true simulation type stuff. So anyway, just to bring you all up to a little bit of speed here, I have updated both the more realistic mod. That thing is getting updated almost multiple times a day. I went and searched for an update yesterday because I was seeing some really peculiar odd behavior on law folds, almost to the point to where that I was about ready to yank it out. And spoke to Reefy 1952, my good buddy Mike, who has experience with the more realistic mod from FarmSim 13, who basically told me, hey, there's an update available, might want to check that out. I did, and also the manual gearbox mod. There was an update available for that as well. And of course, the manual gearbox mod is basically you have to use the one on the GitHub website if you want to use the, and there we go again, driving through the crop. Very bad, very bad. I'm sitting here talking and I'm not paying attention because I'm trying to remember everything that I wanted to tell you all. So I know that this episode is going just a tad bit late, but I've got good information for you. So anyway, if you're interested in playing the more realistic mod, that link is on my mod spreadsheet. It will take you to the FSUK discussion thread for the more realistic mod for Farm Sim 17. In the very first post, you will see a link to Dorell's Dropbox, or maybe it says Google Drive, I can't remember, it's one of the two, either Dropbox or Google Drive, doesn't matter. Click that link, you're going to see two folders. I think one is labeled number 1, another one is labeled number 2. Click on number 2, you'll see the latest and greatest version, and then you'll see another folder that's labeled old versions. Get the latest and greatest one. I think the current is like 2.18 or 2.19, but that's as of the 15th of May. You guys are going to watch this video on the 23rd of May. My guess it's going to be updated many times before then. I think just today alone there's been 2 updates to it. Yesterday I think it was at 2.15, and today it's at like 2.17 or 18 or whatever. So 2 or 3 updates just today since yesterday. That's for the more realistic mod. The gearbox mod, there is a version of the gearbox mod on the mod hub. However, that version, as of right now, as of the 15th of May, will not work with the more realistic mod for 2017. If you install it, and if it's activated, basically my experience was, it basically locks your game. So that's sort of scary, sort of bad. Don't install it. There's a link in my mod spreadsheet again. All this is under the utilities section for Farm Sim 17. There's a link to the GitHub location where you can get the gearbox, the manual gearbox mod that will work with the more realistic mod. Now, I'm hoping, and I think it's probably safe to say that eventually the gearbox mod will get updated on the mod hub, on the Giants mod hub, to be compatible with the more realistic mod. I would hope that is the case. Just remember that if you install the gearbox mod from the GitHub website so that it's compatible with the more realistic mod, if you go into the Giants mod hub within the game and you look at what needs to be updated, that's going to show as needed to be updated. Don't take the update, because if you take the update, that's going to put you right back with the version that doesn't work with more realistic. I know it's kind of confusing, but you just kind of, with these things that are sort of on the mod hub, but they're not, you know, that version is not compatible or whatever, you just kind of have to get used to essentially running multiple versions. There goes our ducks. Running the other version and sort of disregarding when mod hub tells you that you need to update a particular mod. All right, I think that's probably enough for my soapbox and my public speaking. We're at about 40 minutes or so. I know I've got probably a minute or two that's probably going to be cut and fall off on the cutting room floor. But anyway, we're going to wrap things up now. This seeding job of this corn in this field is the last thing that we have to do as far as seeding goes. So most likely this will be the last episode for this game day. We will come back for what will be the second game day of early summer, and probably need to do some spraying, may need to do some animal work. We probably will have some more mowing to do, because we're probably going to need to get some more hay going. Now, whether I do that on camera or off camera, or maybe a live stream, I don't know. That is yet to be determined. It kind of just depends on where I am and what I've got going on, and whether or not I'm sort of in a position where I can do a live stream, or whether I just want to go ahead and do a video, make it an episode or something. So we'll find out together what that's going to be whenever we get closer to that that point in time. The big buds and this particular cedar, as well as the air cedar, both will be going back to the store because basically we don't need them anymore. This will end our need for basically our heavy tractors and everything. We don't need to do any more cultivation. We don't need to do any more seeding or plowing right now. Now, I'm still determining whether or not we're going to play this map a second year. I don't know. So we'll figure that out as we get down the road. You know, we still have 5 days of summer, 5 game days of summer to get through. Hopefully we'll be able to harvest that one corn crop that we plan to cut for chaff. So we will do that hopefully in late summer or very early fall, and then we'll see how things progress with the rest of the crops and how all that works out, and we'll just, you know, cross all those bridges as we can get to them. But you know, this has been a very nice planting season, and we got everything done that we needed to get done as far as planting is concerned. And we'll take a look at that animation as this Great Plains row crop cedar is folded up. Awesome sauce. All right, well folks, I'm going to go ahead and let you all go right here. I'll just drop you guys off here at the edge of the field, and you can find your own way back to the main farm, or who knows, maybe somebody will come along and pick you up here momentarily. But thank you all so much for watching. I really do, and I really wish that when those pop-up windows occurred that it actually didn't stop your tractor. But I guess it wants you to pay attention to what's going on and what they're saying. So in any event, thank you for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. You guys just don't know how much I enjoy doing these videos and answering your questions and reading your comments and such. And I'm so very thankful for, you know, meeting so many of you. You're all very good friends of mine. And I'm just very glad to meet everyone's acquaintance, and really looking forward to more episodes, not only on this map, but also wrapping up Lawfolds, which only probably has another 3 episodes or so to go, maybe 4, and then starting some new projects, and continuing on with some courseplay tutorials and just other things like that. So if there's anything that I can help you guys with, please don't hesitate to ask. If I can't answer your questions through written, a written explanation, I will. I don't have a problem at recording a short video or something to say, this is how you do that, or this is what you do, or whatever. Just let me know. Let me know whatever you guys need. I want to work for you. I am very appreciative that you have subscribed to my channel. And by the way, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. That's really cool for me. I don't do this for the numbers, but I will tell you that it's awfully inspiring to see the subscriber counts go up, and very proud of our 600 plus subscribers that we've managed to accumulate in, about 6 months, 7 months or so. And well, actually a little bit longer than that, about 9 months, I guess, if I'm honest. But hey, who's counting? But I really want to work for you. I want to help you guys out. I want to do more than just basically make farming videos. I want to talk to you guys and tell you stories and do all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm blabbering, and you know what happens when I do that. I just will continue to blabber. So thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and come back again very soon. Bye bye now.